Hi, everybody. I'm Robin, and these are my reflections. And today I am here to reflect on the Radical Tarot Queer the Cards, Liberate Your Practice, and Create the Future by Charlie Claire Burgess, with a foreword by Cassandra Snow, author of Queering the Tarot. Now, this is something a little bit different for my channel because this is my first book reflection. I usually do cards, but I have done a few books. I did a tag called 54321 Tarot. I'll link it up here in the cards for you where I recommended a few books, the tarot books there. Also, in the unboxing that I did for the Radiant Crystal cards, I did do a full flip through and discussion of the Meraki Tarot workbook. But this is my first actual book review, and it will not be my last because I've got quite a few books that I want to talk about this year. So stay tuned for that. But let's just take a look at this one. This is a new release from Hay House, from the creator Charlie Claire Burgess. Now, if you're familiar with Charlie Claire, they are there. They have a few decks out. One is Indie Still, a Marseille deck, and then there is this one, which used to be indie and is now a mass market release from Hay House, which you could get from the same company that released this book. This is the Fifth Spirit Tarot. I love this deck. This is a special deck for me. It really makes me happy. It is a pip deck. I love pip decks with beautiful pips, and this one has gorgeous pips. I like the art style. I like the representation of people in this deck. I like that I can find everybody in here. I like that when I pick it up, it doesn't make me go, oh, I wish there was this or I wish there was that. There's literally everything I want in this deck, and I really love it. It makes me smile. I like the artwork. It's cute. It's quirky. I can see it. I don't have any trouble seeing even the finest details. So yeah, I'm here for this deck. So this is the Fifth Spirit Tarot, and when I read the guidebook for this deck, I knew that I was going to want to read this book when it came out. So when I was asked to review it, if this was a no-brainer. I knew I was going to want to review this because I knew how much I loved this guidebook. So shout out to Hay House for sending this over to me for purposes of review and so that I can share it with you. We have a soft cover, standard book pages, uncoded, black and white, no color on the inside. Very cute designs on the outside, though. And let's just take a look at the back. It says, Tarot is a tool of possibility, questioning, exploration, and transformation. Yet too often it is reduced to rigid binary definitions that reinforce restrictive norms. In Radical Tarot, Charlie Claire Burgess reclaims tarot as a tool that can help free us from oppressive paradigms and empower us to direct our own futures through radical reflection, self discovery, and change. With deep, knowledgeable, and lyrical looks at the cards, Burgess deconstructs the cards' historical meanings, offers queered and updated interpretations, and invites the reader to imagine what else could be possible for the cards, for themselves, and for the world. Queer, expansive, intersectional, and creative. Radical Tarot is more than a guide to tarot, it's a guide to your own personal revolution. Informed by queer theory, social and environmental justice, and Burgess's lived experience as a queer and non binary person whose life was changed radically through tarot, Radical Tarot is for anyone who dreams that better, more liberated futures are possible. Because tarot doesn't tell the future, it helps us create it. So, what I would say about this book right off the bat is that this is the kind of book I wish I had when I was learning how to read tarot. And when I was starting to study tarot, right? I think that this book has some excellent interpretations of the cards inside that can kind of keep you from getting stuck in the ruts that some of the older books might put in your way when you're learning how to read tarot. So I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some fabulous historical books out there on the card meanings, but they do not seem to be wanting to grow with us in the way that we want to grow as a collective when it comes to thinking about the cards outside of the little boxes that they've been put in historically, right? This book is something that is definitely thinking outside of those little boxes. And so I feel like if you are a new reader, this would be something that would make it just easier for you. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to undo anything and redo. You could just do, you know? And so I think that this would be something that's fabulous to have on your shelf. Now let me just let's look at the table of contents and stuff so you can see what's in it. There's your table of contents. You can freeze that and take a screenshot if you want to take a closer look. The introduction is more personal information and how they got into tarot and why this. I think that with this one, if you are a therapeutic tarot reader, this is gonna be right up your alley because I think most of their pedagogy and their reading style is very therapeutic. So, and it reflects in the writing and the meanings of the cards. They've given some, in a very easy to read and truncated style, they've given some very good historical information here with footnotes and bibliography and everything. And they have sort of just given us some information on why the tarot why the tarot is the way it is, and then why we need to queer it, why it needs to be updated and changed, right? I really love the section on the archetypes are alive. It talks about how they move and change just like we do. They aren't set in stone. It says archetypes aren't set in stone, however, and neither is tarot. The archetypes will be different for each of us because they're not static external entities. Rather, they are aspects of our own psyche. They're human thought forms, impressions of our values, beliefs, and collective wisdom, changing, morphing, dying, splintering as our knowledge, culture, and ideals change. They're made by us, from us, so they must evolve as we do to reflect as we are. An archetype that doesn't evolve isn't an archetype, it's a statue. And I love that. And it goes on. I mean, books don't change. They're in print and they are what they are unless the author is going to rewrite it or update it. It's not going to change, but it's nice to have someone write something different and give us something new and fresh. And I feel like that's what this is. And it does refer back to some of those older things, those older books, but then expands and tells us how we can move forward and let it work for us. This section here, I love this part too. It said the tarot isn't an ancient reservoir of secret knowledge and wisdom or a magical fortune telling tool. It is a 600-year-old expansion pack for a card game, but its cards bear the evidence of centuries of the human desire to find meaning. Their pictures act like a cipher that the human brain can't resist puzzling out, tempting us into folly or leading us to self realization. I thought that was cool. Like, whatever knowledge, whatever secrets, whatever wisdom the tarot holds, we give to it. You give to it. And that's a kind of magic, indeed. In the section on what tarot is and what it isn't, it talks about different ways to look at the tarot. You can look at it by its major and minor arcana in a traditional way. You can look at it with elements. You can look at it with numerology and sequence. And it gives, actually, there's a little list here. If you're getting into numerology and you needed a little list, there's definitely a little list there. It talks about duality and where duality comes from in human nature, why it's there, and then how we can bridge it in tarot, like why we need to bridge it in tarot. There's a whole section on removing binaries and gender norms from readings, and this is that section that is going to give you those radical pedagogies, those radical ideas of why we need to overcome that stuff when we're reading and just kind of like broaden our horizons. And it starts by saying when we assign genders to intrinsic human qualities like emotions, intelligence, compassion, strength, capabilities that are present in every single one of us, regardless of gender, we create a rift in between people and within people. We tell one huge part of the population that they must embody certain qualities above all else or be deemed unnatural and unlovable, even while we tell another huge swath that they must suppress those very same qualities lest they be considered unnatural and weak. Let us be clear that unnatural in these contexts has nothing to do with nature and everything to do with fabricated societal norms. And it goes on and on about how it's just time to take it out. It's just time to find a way to look through that. And I think that when you're reading tarot, you're going to do whatever you need to be doing for your readings, right? But it's nice to have a reference for those times when you do want to remove those things from your readings and read in a very equal footing, and then we get right into the cards. So you get about 27 pages of this sort of truncated history, and then you get the card meanings. And for the majors, you've got quite a bit of information. I mean, there's several pages on each card. When you get to the minors, it's less, and then the core cards are a separate section. So for the majors, you have alternative names, what it's could be called. You've got the sort of keywords, which they're calling domains, and then a lot of history on the card, a history on why the card may be interpreted the way it has been interpreted in the past, and then more information on how we can queer it, how we can change it, how we can make it work for us today. And there's also sometimes references of other decks, like the RWS especially. I wish there were some pictures. I think that's like one criticism that I have for this book. I don't have any others. It's just that one. I wish there were some images, even if they were little black and white thumbnails. It might be helpful to be able to just kind of get a feel for if you're a visual learner. Um, I would think a visual learner would like to see a picture rather than just a description of a card. Otherwise, you're going to have to stop and go look up that card if you really want to see it. So I think it would be nice to have the pictures, but there are none. So, you could stop and just look up the card. For the minors, you get a one page, half a page really, write up of sort of what the card, well, you get the ace thumbnail for the pen, for the suit. And then you get a cute little title, you get some keywords for that suit, for the entire suit, and then you get some information on just like what the suit could be called in other decks, how it relates to the element that it's attached to, and so forth and so on. And then you get into the cards, and each card, there's no pictures for the minor arcana, and you get 2 to 3 paragraphs. I would say one. Some of them are one, like two of Pentacles is just one chunky paragraph. Ace of Pentacles is two, and some of them go up to 4 paragraphs. For instance, the Five of Pentacles, which I wanted to read to you guys, because I read this and I thought, wow, that is some good information. I really enjoyed this write up when I read it for the first time. I thought it integrates social aspects, it integrates psychology, the political commentary, and then there's also just the RWS references in there. I wanted to read to you the Five of Pentacles because there was some really good information in here about how the Five of Pentacles can show up in life and how it showed up in their life when they had spider mites in their houseplants, shaking up their peace and stability at home, right? Because it's a shake-up card. It's a challenge, right? About how the Five of Pentacles is challenges, financial challenges, domestic issues, rude neighbors. But then it talks about how it could also be health struggles and bodily violations. It could be representing that. They say they've seen it show up when their PTSD is triggered and when I'm feeling gender dysphoric, as well as during struggles to access transgender health care. And this last part of this is really, I think, really highlights what the book was written, who the book was written for, right? Because they wrote this book for people who are living in the margins and who don't feel like tarot guidebooks address their life where they are, doesn't meet them where they are in those margins. So I think that this last part does that. It meets us where we are in those margins rather than us having to sort of like work it out in our brain and figure out how it applies to our life, right? So I appreciate that about this book. So it says the Five of Pentacles has a special relationship with people from marginalized groups because we are more likely to experience poverty, employment and housing insecurity, violence and discrimination, and barriers to healthcare access, but also for less obvious reasons. Like the Seven of Swords, the Five of Pentacles is a card of outsiders. It's a card for the marginalized and disenfranchised, the exiled and shunned, the oppressed and ignored. Anyone who has been turned away from a business, snubbed by a server, or harassed by a stranger because of who they are knows this card. Anyone who has been rejected by their family or community because of their gender identity or sexual orientation knows this card. The Five of Pentacles speaks to us about the pain of being othered, of being denied belonging, of not being able to go home. And in that vein, it asks us to find where we do belong. I appreciate Pamela Coleman Smith's version of this card because it shows two people injured and in rags walking in the snow outside a church. The implication is that they are either heading to the church doors to seek shelter, or they have been turned away from this place of sanctuary and cast out into the cold. What I like about this image is that there are two people. They are huddled together, supporting each other. Even in their exile and hardship, they are not alone. That's the medicine of the Five of Pentacles. It reminds us that there is help out there, maybe not in the usual and established places, maybe not in the mainstream or in our families of origin, but in fellowship with other people like us. There is community on the margins, and it's often more caring and connected than the communities that have barred us entry. Find your people, this card says, and you'll find home. And I thought that was cool. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So that's this book. There's not much more to it. It goes through the court cards. The court cards are a separate section, so you can see it's separated by the faces. So we've got the kings, the whole section of kings, and then it shows all the kings, and it does the same for the pages and the queens and the knights. Tarot radically section, which is really cool, where it just talks about some things that you can do to kind of like add some chaos into your reading. So just shuffle it up, change it up a little bit. There's a conclusion and some acknowledgments, and then, like I said, those end notes, which are fabulous, and then the bibliography, and that's the book. I think if you were a new tarot reader, you should pick this up for real, because this is gonna be helpful to help you develop your tarot practice in this way, rather than having to undo the other way and then refix your pathways, your neural pathways and things like that. You might as well just go ahead and pick this one up and put it on your shelf now. Grab it from Hay House when it's on sale. I will put links in the description box below where you can get this book from Amazon and Hay House if you're interested. Also, if you are an advanced reader and you're looking for something with social commentary, with some psychological aspects on the cards, with some political commentary and woven within the card descriptions, they offer that in this book. If you're looking for just something to support you because you're a marginalized person, and you want to be able to pick up a reference book when you're looking to read about a card and see your life reflected in it. I think maybe this one might be helpful to have on your shelf. You know what I mean? So that is The Radical Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. I hope that was helpful for anybody who was wondering about this book. And that's all I have to say. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, you can subscribe. I will release videos every few days regarding tarot and oracle. I do have a couple more books that I'm going to be reviewing in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And until I see you next time, stay safe and be blessed. Bye.